Hey you guys, this is your boy J-Hen with J-Hen Travel and Services, and I'm outside on my balcony porch wishing I was on a cruise or something like that, but I'm actually at home here to talk about my time in Jamaica during the month of June of 2021. So I did travel June 5th through June 10th of 2021 to Montego Bay, Jamaica, and I'm just going to talk to you guys about my time at the all-inclusive resorts as well as about my time in Jamaica. And I just want to let you guys know what it was like traveling during the pandemic. So if you don't already know, or if you're planning on traveling to Jamaica, it's very important to check the Jamaica's Visitors Bureau's website to check for updates, to check with the CDC if you're traveling from the United States, to check for updates to know what your requirements will be to get into Jamaica or to get back into the United States if you're from here, or whatever country you're traveling to Jamaica from, because as you know, things can change daily, as there are things that can change with the different variants of COVID that are coming out. So one of the things that I had to do within 72 hours of travel to Jamaica, I did have to go and get a COVID test. I actually went to CVS and got my COVID test. I'm not gonna lie, you guys, I was a little nervous because I'm like, is this the right test? Is this the one that the airline is going to want to see? Because some of the wording on it was different from what I was seeing online on the website. So I just had to go ahead, have faith. So the first thing is you do have to get that negative COVID test to travel to Jamaica. It has to be taken. You have to take the test within 72 hours of traveling to Jamaica. So I think I took it like 2 days before my trip. CVS, they had a rapid test that they do, so within a few hours I was able to get my results emailed to me, as well as a phone call. Printed off those documents so I could have them with me in my hand at the airport to get on the plane, as well as I had it saved in my phone. But I always like to have paper documents just in case something happens with your phone or an electronic document, so I like to cover myself and have both. So when we did check in at the airline to have our tickets printed out, we flew American, and we did show them at the ticket counter, and so that was where they verified our COVID testing, as well as at the actual gate before we boarded the airplane. They did ask to see our negative COVID tests there. And one of the things also that you have to do before going to Jamaica, and you can go right to their travel authority's website, and on there they do have a travel authorization form, which all travelers to Jamaica are required to complete. So you can go right on their page. You can complete the form online. I'll leave a link in the description down below. You complete that form, and I think within less than 10 minutes they'll give you an answer back to say whether you're approved or not approved to come into the country. And it's pretty much asking you questions about COVID and your health, and where you're traveling to, what hotel or resort you're staying at, or who you're staying with if you're going there to visit family, and it asks about your past travel dates and things like that. So it also asks, like, who you're traveling with. It asks you those type of questions. And one of the things that I thought about that form, because I put my information, I put my mom's information, so I thought, okay, she won't have to do one, but each person has to fill out the form. So even though I did the form and put my mom's information on there and her address and where she was traveling from, my mom still had to do her own travel authorization form and wait for her authorization to be emailed to her to let her know that she could travel into the country. So we also had to show that email at the ticketing counter for American Airlines, just to show them that we had did that pre-travel authorization form that Jamaica requires. And then once we got into Jamaica, we did have to show on our phones that we completed that travel authorization form. And then there you have the electronic booth that you have to go to and enter information and answer questions in when you're on the top level. Then you have to go downstairs and answer some more questions at another booth. So when we actually got to Montego Bay's airport, the lines were long, and it was pretty much just our plane and maybe one other plane, but it took a long time to get through customs and immigrations and to fill out all the paperwork that we still had to fill out on the computers and things like that. There really wasn't much social distancing when you're in line. It's pretty much like everybody's in line because it's not that much space. I really wish that I would have taken advantage of Club Mobay for my arrival to get through customs and everything a lot faster. I'd say it probably took us like between an hour and a half to 2 hours just to go through the long line and then to get our luggage to get out of the airport. It took longer than I had actually expected to get through that process in the airport. Another thing that's important to keep in mind is that you do have to wear your mask the whole time that you're inside of the airport and while you're on your flight to Jamaica. You know, you are required to wear masks in airports and on your flight, as well as on any type of public transportation once you get there. And if you're getting inside of like a taxi cab or whatever transfer service you have, they do require you to wear a mask as well. So that's something to plan for and to keep in mind as well. But you can take your mask off if you are eating or drinking. Anytime you're eating or drinking on the plane or in the airport, you can take your mask off to do those things. And that's the only time that you're supposed to have your mask off, during those times. So now let's talk about what it was like once we actually got to the resort. So we were actually staying at the Riu Reggae, and as soon as you get there, they do have to take your temperature, and they actually have a machine, maybe it's about 5 feet away, and they have you stand in like a little square, and it digitally takes your temperature from a distance. So they just have you stand in a certain spot. You might have to move around a little bit for it to find your face and all that. Then it does take your temperature. So they can just know whether you have a temperature that's above normal, that would make you be like suspect of having COVID. And then from that point, as long as your temperature is fine, they let you move along through the line to complete your check-in at the resort. They did actually greet us with champagne, so that was one thing that they still do there, is greet you with champagne, even though it's during COVID and the pandemic. So at check-in, as far as the resort goes, that was the only time we had to actually take our temperature at the resort, or if we went to the other sister resorts. Once you had the band on, they really didn't check your temperature anymore on the resort. So one of the things that I wasn't prepared for once we got to the resort is that once you get into your rooms, there are no liquor dispensers in your rooms. Like, you'll see the casing where the liquor dispensers go, but they're actually all empty. And I guess due to COVID, they're not coming in your rooms as much. They're not filling the liquor dispensers. So if you are trying to get drinks, you do have to go out into the restaurants or the bars to actually get a drink. And even your refrigerator that's in your room, those are not stocked daily, and they're not stocked at all once you get there. So when you get there, the liquor dispensers will be empty, as well as your refrigerator will be empty and not stocked. So what you have to do is you can go to the 24-hour sports bar, and at the sports bar you can actually get whatever liquor or beverages that you might want. And again, normally at the Riu, they have the 24-hour sports bars where you can go in there and get food. You can get food. Normally they have like chicken and nachos and cold sandwiches and beverages. Now the only thing is that when you go there, they have an attendant there that has to give you everything. They have to give you the sandwiches. They have to heat up your sandwiches there for you, or heat up whatever type of food they have there during that night or during that day. And then you can actually request what you want to drink, and you have to carry it back to your room yourself. So if you want bottles of water, if you want Coca-Cola, Sprite, whatever type of beverages they have there, you have to let them know, and they'll give you the bottles to take back to your room to store. So what I did is I kind of kept a backpack with me, so on the days I wanted to go and get bottles of water to take to the room or sodas, I'd have that backpack, so in case I was grabbing food too, I could put all the drinks in my bag, take it back to my room, stock the room like that. Now the front desk did tell us that you could actually get like shot bottles, is what they told us you can get from the 24-hour sports bar. We went there, we asked, they said that if you wanted a drink, go to the bar and get a drink. So there was no like small bottles of liquor for us to take to our room. Now you could take Red Stripe if you wanted beer. You could take Red Stripe, which is the local beer that they have there. They would normally be in your room, so you could take that to your room, as well as they had some juices there as well. And then since we're still talking about the rooms and things like that, they did not do like services in the room as far as like cleaning the rooms and things like that. You did have to actually like request service. But what they would do is that if you called for towels, they wouldn't come in the room. They would just ask you to put them in a hamper, or you know, you could push or put them in a bag and bag them up, and then they bring you the new towels, and you give them the bag of old towels. So that's kind of how we got the towels each day, unless you actually requested for room service to come clean your room or to sweep your room or to change your linen and things like that. They really didn't come into your rooms at all during our stay there in June due to COVID. And just along with when you're going to the restaurants, the buffets, again, you were not allowed to serve yourself. So as you go along the buffets, they had everything closed off, so you couldn't breathe on any of the food, or no one was able to breathe on the food or reach and touch the food. So it's like you pretty much had to tell the servers what you wanted, and they made your plates for you. You just pass them your plates. They put the stuff on your plate that you want, and that was pretty much at all the restaurants. That's the way that they operated, as well as once you were seated at the tables, if you wanted any condiments, they would bring condiments out to you. They would bring silverware out to you as well. So that's one of the things to be prepared for, is that you don't serve yourselves. They serve you at all of the restaurants. So sometimes that could make your time be a little longer, depending on what times you're going to eat or what times you're trying to stop at the 24-hour sports bar to stock up your refrigerator and things like that. The line could be a little bit longer because they have to heat up everyone's food right there, or they're trying to make everyone's sandwich with all the condiments that they want. So it does take a little bit longer, but they're trying to keep everybody safe and I guess stop the spread of COVID-19 and the other variants that are out there. One of the other things that we had to do in Jamaica too is that you have to wear a mask in all the common areas. Anytime you weren't inside your room, you were expected to have on a mask. Unless you were actually eating or drinking or smoking or doing something like that, you were expected to have a mask on during your stay at the resort. One of the things that was even kind of weird, and I've traveled like a few places, like to Wisconsin Dells, I've been to a few other hotels in Vegas, but they actually required you to have a mask on in the swimming pool when you come to the swim up bar. So that was a little weird, just because you're in the pool, you're not wearing a mask, but to actually go to the bar to get a drink in the swim up bar areas, you actually had to have a mask. So it's like if you got your fancy mask, and you know that mask is bound to get wet in the water. I don't care how hard or much you try to keep it from getting wet, your mask might just get wet, or unless it's just like one person in the water that keeps the mask and they're the person to go up there and constantly get the drinks, then you might get away with not taking your mask down to the pool bar. And then anytime to go to any of the bars, you did have to have your mask on. So even if you walked around without a mask, if you go up to one of the bars, they would tell you you got to have a mask to get served. And they did have like the plexiglass shields up to protect themselves, but they still required you to have a mask anytime you came up to any of the bars or interacted with any of the staff at the resorts. As far as the shows go and entertainment, they did have nightly shows at all three resorts, at the Riu Palace, Riu Reggae, and the Riu Montego Bay. They had shows each night. The only thing that was a little different is that they asked everyone to only stay at your assigned table and not mingle with other people. And so they had like their normal shows and entertainment that they normally have. Like they did a show on like the history of entertainment in Jamaica. They did a Michael Jackson show. They did a couples game show. They had a comedy show. They had a magic show. Just all different types of stuff. If you've been to a Riu resort, you know some of the shows that they typically do, and they try to rotate things each night. And what they did each night after the shows, I want to say from like 10:30 until midnight, or maybe 1 a.m. some nights they did have music after the shows would take place. They would have the DJ just come there at the theater and be on the stage, and he would actually play music there. I think the music actually really only went until midnight, if I'm not mistaken. And so sometimes if a show went to like 10:45, you may have an hour and 15 minutes of music that the DJ was playing right there. And I will say this, they were very, 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 very strict, especially once they started playing the music. They were very strict, and the DJ constantly made announcements to say that there is no dance floor, because some people would go up front where the stage was, and they would try to dance and do the slides or just do all that type of stuff. And if people started to like congregate in the aisles or congregate alongside certain tables or any like group activity and start trying to dance or do stuff like that, the DJ would literally stop the music. So that was annoying, you know, just because they telling us what the rules are, and then some people still chose to go and try to dance in groups when they kept saying, if you do this, we're going to shut the music down. So it was a few nights where they would keep stopping the music, and then they would tell everybody, go back to your table, and then they would stop the music, then start it back up. And one night they got down to where the DJ said, if it's one more time, if someone comes down front and try to dance, or if there's any groups dancing in the aisles from different tables, we'll just have to shut down the music for the whole night. So that was like really annoying. And then pretty much after midnight, that's when all your entertainment and activities ended at the resort. And the entertainment and stuff ended because the clubs were actually closed. The Pacha disco or nightclub, as the Riu often calls it, was closed. So there was no club, I guess, due to COVID, which I wasn't expecting that. I didn't even know about that before I got there. But the club was actually closed, as well as the water park. So, you know, Riu, again, if you've never been or if you've been researching, the Riu is big for their pool parties and the foam parties and the different themed pool parties that they have. But the water park was closed, and there were no pool parties, I guess, due to the COVID-19. So we didn't get to experience any of the foam parties, the jungle parties, the neon party, the pink party. All that was not going on in June of 2021 when we went there. Now, you could sit outside on the beach or in the theater areas as long as you wanted to. So I did have like a JBL speaker, and different people did have speakers. So some nights people would just sit out there in the theater area because it is an open air theater. So you could just sit out there and play your own music all night long. So that's kind of what we did when we wanted to be out a little bit later. We would just sit out, play music, talk to the people that we met. As far as other entertainment goes, they still had, like, you know, entertainment like singers. Some days they would have singers or a DJ playing while you're in the swimming pool in the daytime. Sometimes they had other acts going on throughout the day, as well as they had beach activities, volleyball tournaments, different scavenger hunts and different things like that. So they still had entertainment and activities throughout the day. They actually even had, like, you know, exercise and water aerobics taking place that was led by the Riu staff, as well as the gym and the spa was actually open. So they were doing massages. My mom actually got a manicure, pedicure. So the spa was fully open. The gym was fully open. Okay, and I know a lot of people asked about curfews. So while I was in Jamaica, they did have curfews, and I was trying to ask some of the staff or the locals how the curfews actually worked, because we got there on a Saturday, and I think that Saturday when we got there, the curfew was like maybe 9 p.m. And then on the next day, Sunday, the curfew was at 2 p.m. So we were shocked that it was a weekend and the curfew was so early, and just thinking about booking excursions. So that was just one thing that you got to keep in mind with excursions, or if you are thinking you want to go out and explore, it's very important to know what the actual curfew is for the day, because, you know, the resort will let you know what the curfew is, but if you want to go and if there's a cab driver out there that's willing to take you somewhere, you're pretty much on your own. And some of the warnings that they told us, if we walked outside the gate or somebody went in the cab on their own, they said that you could be imprisoned or fined money for being out past the curfew, unless you were somebody that was actually working. So when I knew it was a curfew, I made sure that I stayed at the resort and wasn't trying to go out go anyplace else. Now on the resort, even though there was curfews, we were still allowed to move around however we wanted to on the resort, and we could still go to the sister properties with no issue. So while you're on the resort, the curfew really doesn't matter. It just really matters if you want to go out someplace else. And so if you're not familiar with the Riu, again, you know, if you stay at the Riu Palace, you get to go to all 3 resorts. You can go to Riu Reggae, you can go to Riu Montego Bay, you can eat, you can drink. But the only thing about the Riu Palace is that unless you're staying at the Riu Palace, and if you don't, unless you have that Riu Palace wristband on, you're not allowed to go inside of the Riu Palace or go to their pools or their restaurants or their bars to get any drinks at all. So one of the things that was really weird is that as you enter one of the main gates, first is Riu Reggae, then you have Riu Palace is in the middle, then you have Montego Bay. Now I do have videos that I'll upload where I'll show you the walk along the street going between the 3 resorts, and then I have one where I'll show you the walk along the beach going to the 3 resorts. Now the one thing is that when you walked along the beach, they were very, very strict if you were coming from Montego Bay or the Reggae and trying to get between those 2 locations if you had the wristbands on, because you can go, if you stay at the Montego Bay, you can go to Riu Reggae and take advantage of stuff there. The same thing if you stay at Riu Reggae, you can take advantage of stuff at Montego Bay. It's just a matter of walking through the beach of the palace to get between the 2. And they were at security was actually just a little too strict for me. They wanted to make, if you, depending on the security guard that was there, they made you walk along the shoreline. Like they didn't even want you walking up along the middle of the beach. They would say you gotta walk along the shoreline to get to the Riu Montego Bay or to get to the Riu Reggae if you weren't staying at the palace. Me, I think that was just an overstretch. I mean, I stayed in Punta Cana at a Riu and they were not that strict at all. We was all up in the palace. You could check out my vlogs. My cousin was taking pictures at the palace. We was at the palace pools. We didn't get in, but we just walked around, went inside the hotel over there and just seeing stuff. But they were really strict. At the Jamaica, Riu Palace Jamaica, security was on it. Even coming through the front door, the back, the beach, they was like, you cannot be over here. You got to keep moving, keep going. So that's just something important to keep in mind. So if you are going and if you have people that are staying at different resorts, make sure if you got somebody staying at the palace that they know that you won't be able to come to the palace, or yeah, you won't be able to come to the palace. You know, I was even trying to tell them I'm a travel agent. Dang, let me take my time and walk through here. They wasn't trying to hear that. They was like, go by the seashore, by the beach. It may have been like 1 or 2 security guards that was like, okay, you can walk along this path, but the rest of them, they was being like very, very strict. So as far as excursions go, you were still able to book excursions to do. I booked our excursions right there with our tour operator that provided us with our transfers, just because with all the curfews and the pandemic, I wanted to make sure I was doing an excursion through someone that was insured, someone that was going to be following the safety guidelines and the state or country laws over in that area. So we did book like a whole day excursion to do. We were able to go like to Dunn's River Falls. We did zip lining. We did horseback riding on land and in water. We did ATV. We did like a jump in a lagoon. We did Margaritaville, and actually our excursion took us all the way from Montego Bay. It took us all the way to Ocho Rios, Jamaica. So we took that 2-hour journey, and then at the end we had to drive all the way back to Montego Bay. We didn't drive. The tour people drove us. We was on a bus or a van, so they drove us, but we did make it to Ocho Rios, and like Dunn's River Fall, there was a ton of people there going up the waterfall. Zip lining, there was a ton of people there. Horseback riding and ATV, there was a ton of different vans that were there too, participating in the activities as well. So there were a lot of people there out and about, but it's just, you know, if you are doing excursions, make sure you're paying attention to the curfews. We also did a party boat tour, and one of the things, and that was right there, we were able to book that right on the beach in front of the resort, and we did the party boat, and that was like $75 to do that boat. It was unlimited drinks. They take you to an island, you get to do snorkeling. There's music on the boat. Only thing is, they did tell us, they asked us not to post stuff online or be posting too much stuff, because they claim they might get in trouble if the pictures or photos was seen of us having a party and during this time. So leaving the resort and coming home, a lot of people want to know about COVID testing. So I live in the United States, so in order to come back in the United States from any foreign country, you do have to have a negative COVID test within 72 hours of your return. So when you check into the resort, they actually give you like a link. You could take a picture of it, and your phone will automatically link you to the website to sign up for your COVID testing, and you can go right there and you can check the times. It is important. I'm a procrastinator. I kind of waited late, but it's important to make sure that you do that early as possible, because you got to think other people on the resort are trying to get those tests done too. And if you want to get the best time that's going to work best for you, the sooner you make that appointment, the better options you'll have. And I think they had them like every 10 minutes, and they might have had like a lunch break from like 11 to 12 or 12 to 1, but the tests were like every 10 to 15 minutes. So you can schedule them very easy. Or if your phone wasn't working, you could actually go to the front desk, and they could help you schedule your COVID tests. And then you just have to make sure that you're there like 10 minutes early in advance. And the test pretty much was simple. You go in one room, they ask you some information, then they send you next door to the nurse or who's ever doing the COVID-19 testing, and then within a few hours they'll email you your results. And some people didn't get their results, so pretty much if you don't get your results via email, or if you have any questions about it, you can just go to the front desk and they can print out a copy. Now we got our email address of our negative COVID results, but again, because I like to have stuff in paper, because electronic stuff could fail and I didn't want to be stuck at no airport, so I made sure too that I went to the front desk and I got a printed copy of my COVID-19 test. But overall, that was a really smooth, quick process. So I was nervous about that as well, having to get a COVID test before I go, having to get one to come back, thinking, oh my God, what if I get COVID while I'm there? But thankfully, I didn't have it before I went. My test was negative the day I went to take it to return home. So pretty much I was all good. One thing right now, most all-inclusive resorts are offering up to 14 days of quarantine time for people that are booking with them. Not sure how long that will last, but now if you are traveling to most all-inclusive resorts, they are offering up to 14 days of quarantine, and most of them saying that even if you're traveling in a large group, they'll allow one companion or one person that's traveling with you to stay behind as well, if someone had to be quarantined and like confined to their room. Overall, even with the restrictions, the pandemic going on, I had a great time. The people that I went with, we all were still able to have a good time on the beach and doing our excursions, and we were able to eat and drink and chill and relax and chill in the swimming pools and see some great entertainment and listen to the music that the DJ played each night. So for me, it was still pretty cool, pretty nice, relaxing, and I still felt like I was on vacation, even with all the restrictions that were in place, or with the club being closed, or with the pool parties not taking place, because we had so many options of pools to go to, and they still had DJs at the pools during certain times of the day. So it was still pretty cool. I still would do it again. I had a great time. I'm happy I was healthy and all that type of stuff. So just some notes about the three resorts. Riu Reggae, it is smaller, but I like it because everything is kind of right there. You know, the main pool is right there with a nice swim up bar. The theater is right there. The front desk area is just right there. The 24-hour sports bar, all of it's right there. The spa, the way they have the spa and the specialty restaurant set up, they're just all right in a nice little square. So you really don't have to go that far. And then there's a nice sized beach there. There was a lot of chairs where you could sit if you want to be near people, or there were chairs you could sit if you wanted to be further away. They did have a smoking section at the end of the beach for those people that wanted to smoke, as well as at the theater for smokers. They had a special smoking areas for people that do smoke. They still had like the huts open on the beach where they would do daily like jerk chicken on the grill, and you can walk up to the grill, get your fresh jerk chicken and rice and peas and cabbage and things like that. The Palace, again, the Palace is very nice, was very nice as well. You know, Palace is just always a little bit more chill. You know, the Riu Reggae, you're gonna have some music playing, you're gonna have a little bit of noise going on in the daytime. But the Palace, you know, it's a little more chilled, a little more laid back, a little more quiet, you know. And then Montego Bay, the days we went down to Montego Bay, they was turned up for real. I thought Riu Reggae would have been like that, but the days we went down to Montego Bay, they was turned up for real. I'm talking about at the swim up bar where they had music playing. It was about, people had like 10 speakers all around the pool. So it's like you in the pool and you like, okay, whose music am I listening to? Because everybody got music playing around us. And then also they did seem like it was a lot more younger people down at Montego Bay than there were down at the Riu Reggae. There was actually a young lady, her and her friends was so tore up, they threw up in the pool. So they had to close down the whole pool. We trying to chill. We trying to get our adult on. This is a adults only. All three of these are adults only resorts. So you would think somebody know how to handle themselves, but this girl threw up in the pool and we watched them walk her in the pool, wondering why the lifeguards or staff didn't stop them from even walking the girl down in the pool, and they had to close the pool. Luckily there was like 4 other pools that we can go get in, but that was like the pool that was nice, even though everybody had their own music playing too. But that was a nice pool because the bar was right there. But that kind of sucked on that part of it. But I don't know if it's always like that down there at that side. But some of the other pools where the music wasn't playing, they were a lot more chilled and relaxed. So if this is your first time checking out my channel, you can go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below if you want to see more stuff about Jamaica and more of my travel videos, life videos and things like that. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button down below. If you're looking for somebody you need some help planning that all-inclusive trip, I'm the man, I'm the one for you. J-Hen Travel and Services. Check down below. You can see my email address, my website, all that stuff is down there listed in the description. If you have any questions, I don't mind giving you, providing you with information. If you have a question down there in the comment, go ahead, ask a question down there, and I'll be sure to answer it if I have the answer to it, or hopefully somebody else that's scrolling through and reading will be able to help you out and answer that question for you as well. I thank you for watching this video. Until next time, this is your boy J-Hen. Peace.